we set up, Tim had just mentioned, we were talking about labor force participation among Black mothers. The piece continues to note that the decline is not simply part of a broader retreat among working mothers driven by return to office mandates and childcare pressures. White and Hispanic mothers have seen much smaller pullbacks. That suggests the reversal is particularly acute among Black mothers. It's a group of workers we know who are traditionally more likely to work than their peers. What is going on? Give us your view on this.
One thing that's going on is that many of these Black women have been laid off from their jobs. The DOGE cuts, the attacks on diversity in corporate America have cost literally over 500,000, maybe 750,000 Black women their jobs. These are professional Black women in many respects with college degrees and graduate degrees. And that impact is exacerbated by the fact that childcare is exceedingly expensive and difficult. So mothers, if you do not have a job, you may have to retreat from the workforce and stop looking for work for a period of time. And I think that is what is going on. It is difficult out here. I mean, these numbers, I can say anecdotally, I run into so many Black women who have never known unemployment, who are now out of work. And these are highly educated, college-educated Black women. This is what's going on. Look at this jobs report. We've got a loss of jobs. And then we've got a Black unemployment rate at 6.3%, where 2 years ago it was 4.3%. So things are deteriorating. It's tough out here. It's difficult.
Marc, what is notable about this is, this report that we're getting from our Bloomberg News team, this came out yesterday, okay? We get additional data about the workforce today, as we do every single month with the payrolls report. But last week, or I should say last month, just at the end of last month, you and the team at the National Urban League came out with a stark warning, essentially, that says the American dream may not be dead for many Black Americans, but it's further away than at any point since the civil rights movement. How does the data that Carol and I were talking about fit into what you found big picture about where we are since the civil rights movement?
I think it supports the fact that in the last 18 months, we've seen a deterioration, and it's been an attack on many of the structures, the Civil Rights Act, the EEOC, the commitment by the government to lead when it comes to diversity, and all of the retreats and all of the retrenchments. And when we talk to people in the community, and this is Black people, but I would say even beyond, they say the American dream is beyond my reach. The idea of a stable job that pays and allows me to prepare for retirement, the idea that I can own a home that I can afford, take care of health care, take care of my parents, take care of my children. We are dealing with what the American people are saying, what Black Americans are saying, that the American dream is beyond reach. We have to restore, revive, refine the American dream, which is why our State of Black America report includes a 6-point affordability agenda. My premise is that America's priorities are misplaced. The misplacement is that there's this focus on wars, $2 billion a day in Iraq, and a depletion of our missile stockpiles. A fiscal plan, which is all the big ugly bill, I call it the big ugly bill, that shifts resources significantly away from middle-class Americans, working-class Americans, aspiring middle-class Americans, and vulnerable Americans to the richest billionaires in America, just 1,000 people. And the American people on the right, the middle, and the left are not pleased with the direction of the country and the priorities of the country. So this report speaks to Black America, but I think it speaks much more broadly to all of the American people.
Marc, do you want to grab some water? We don't know if you need to get a little bit of water. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm going to work through this. Yeah, I had a little hiccup attack.
Oh, okay.
We've all been there, Marc.
That's right. We've all also had coughing attacks on air. So that's fine. As long as you're okay. We would just want to make sure.
And to be
okay.
fair, Marc has spent, his lifetime speaking in front of large groups as a former mayor of New Orleans from 1994 to 2002. He was the city's youngest mayor. He was a Louisiana state senator too in the 1990s. So yeah, we've all been there, Marc.
We have definitely been there.
Thank you for your indulgence.
Marc, one of the things we think about, we talk about a lot. I mean, the first state of Black America was published in 1976. It's a long time ago, right? There's a lot of years. There's a lot has happened, and I am amazed at some things have certainly gotten better, but we still have some really tough situations for segments of our population, for segments of what is America. And I don't know if we're making progress anymore. When you look at policies that are out there, what could we do better?
One thing we can do better is focus on income, the earnings of people. The fact that we haven't had a comprehensive national minimum wage bill since 2007 is tragic, even though we've been through economic ups and downs. We need a national living wage bill. We've got to recognize that too many people are working hard every day. They work sometimes 2 jobs, but they still can't make ends meet. Mm-hmm. So we've got to work on income. We've also got to work on what is driving the affordability crisis, and that is housing, the cost of housing. The cost of housing has increased 5 times faster than incomes. Think about that since the year 2000. There are many reasons for it. We need an aggressive initiative in this country to build more affordable housing. And I think we ought to take the housing voucher program, which has worked for many, many years, and expand the eligibility. It's sometimes called the Section 8 program. We could do it with the exact same amount of money we're spending on the Iran war. That is the point. It's an issue of priorities. What are we prioritizing in America? Are we prioritizing affordability? Are we prioritizing inclusion? Or are we prioritizing destruction? And are we prioritizing the transfer of wealth to the highest and most successful Americans? And look, I'm not a billionaire basher. That's not the point. I just think billionaires shouldn't get any special breaks, no special privileges. I think they ought to pay the same taxes as a reporter or an anchor or a nurse or a firefighter or a teacher or a service worker. I think that is the fundamental principle of fairness in America.
But Marc, I want to dig into this housing part of the conversation. We talk about this a lot, and there's certainly no clear, easy answer to this, and that's why I'm interested in what you have to say. You were in local politics as mayor of New Orleans. You were a state senator. You have a national position now. It's not a political position, but it's a national advocacy organization. Doesn't the housing issue have to start at the local level, because so much of this is about where exactly a home can be built?
There's no doubt that the local level is important. And I think cities and mayors all across America, I mean, even in New York, you've seen, a whole series of mayors here do what they can with the resources that they have. This is a resource problem. Here's why. The housing market, the building of affordable housing slowed down with 9/11, and it never bounced back. So all estimates are that we're 4 to 5 million units short. This takes a big play. In the early 20th century, in the middle 20th century, when we had a housing crisis in America, the federal government stepped in and produced tools. Those tools were FHA, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Later on in the 1970s, the Community Reinvestment Act, a series of tools that helped to leverage private sector funding, public money, with state and local action. It was enormously successful. We've got to get back to this idea that it is not the feds versus the state, not the state versus the city, not the public sector versus the private sector, but a combination of all of these factors to deal with one of America's great crises. The cost of gas is hurting Americans. I would say that the cost of housing is really hurting Americans, young and old, Black and white. It's more exacerbated for Black and brown communities, but it is not limited to Black and brown communities what we face. And so, yes, local action, but it's a combination, because the problem is so massive. 4 to 5 million housing units underwater in the country. Too many Americans paying up to 50% plus of their take-home income for rents and mortgages. This is not sustainable if we are going to revive, reform, and resuscitate the American dream.
We think so much too. We talk a lot about the investment office audience, and we have to remind everybody that not everybody's in the stock market, and there are 2, 3, or 4 different Americas, and it does feel like we're at a point in time where we've really forgotten so many members of our population and what makes up America. Do you have hope going forward for Black Americans and those that are forgotten?
I'm an eternal optimist, but I do think people are going to have to send a message in these midterms to rebalance the conversation, because the premise here is, what are America's priorities? I believe that America's priorities should always be centered around domestic tranquility, domestic economic growth, inclusionary economic growth. And I think when we do that as a nation, the public sector and the private sector thrive. The private sector and the stock market thrive. Remember, two-thirds to 3/4 of the American economy is driven by consumer spending. People have money in their pocket to spend. This is why I'm such a proponent of wage increases and such a proponent of increasing the minimum wage. It's going to benefit the overall economy, and we have to embrace if you will, a philosophy of public-private partnerships at the national level. We have to embrace a philosophy of the states working with the feds, working with local government in order to accomplish these big things. I see mayors all across the country.
Yeah.
I know we're active in the housing market. We helped 2,000 people become homeowners for the first time last year. We could do 4,000. We could do 5,000 if there was a housing supply and an increase in the number of tools. When I was mayor of New Orleans, I put a big push on this, but I had Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the banks, community-based lenders, the Clinton administration, all partnering with us, and we increased significantly the number of housing units and the significant number of affordable housing units in the city, not only for rent, but also for home ownership.